Hey guys, this is Tor from TC, and we have a prominent guest and visitor today, the incredible Ariel Posen.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
Thanks for dropping by.
My pleasure.
So you're playing with the Landros Brothers tomorrow?
Yeah. In Tuna?
Yeah.
Is that close enough?
That's close enough.
It's my third time, so I should know how to say it right by now.
Danish pronunciation is Tønder.
Tuna.
But it's actually at the south of Jutland, so they have a very particular accent. So anybody from there will probably frown and say that's not how you pronounce it at all.
Yeah, that's why I try not to say it when I'm around anybody here.
So you basically come up here for the day before playing the show tomorrow up here at TC. And
We've had a lovely day so far.
Yeah, it's been
nice drive, little tour.
Yeah.
Some stew.
Yeah. And now we're ready to geek out on some pedals.
Yes.
We've been geeking out a bit on coffee, and now it's time for pedals, I guess.
That's right.
So what we talked about doing today is basically have a little bit of a chat about pedal selection for you specifically. So the idea being that we want to build a little pedal board or a semi-size. You had an option of a smaller one or a bigger one, and immediately went for the bigger one.
Have to go a little bigger, just in case.
Yeah. So basically build a board that would contain the effects that you would typically use, for the majority of stuff that you do, and discuss, effect choices and things like that. And basically populate the board as we go along.
Absolutely.
And the idea being at the end of it, we'll have a finished board and we'll actually give that away.
What?
But more on that later.
Yes.
Yeah. The idea is not particular to say this is all about TC pedals. We'll be using TC pedals, but on your board you have a bunch of different pedals.
Yeah.
So it's more a matter of the type of effects.
Yes.
And it's more a matter of discussing how you use those effects, how you dial them in and in what context you use them.
Absolutely.
So I guess with that said, might as well get going.
Let's do this.
Yeah. So, if you were to kind of quickly say the need, if you had to build a board, there would typically be I need those effects on my board. What would those typically be?
The standard line of effects that I would use, if I have the room, I'd like to, I always have at least one fuzz.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of going in order.
Yeah.
This is in order.
Yeah.
I'll have a fuzz. I'll have at least 2 different overdrives.
Yeah.
So just 2 different colors. I like to stack, and sometimes I don't stack.
Yeah.
But it's just nice to have 2 different voices. Maybe one. Nothing. I don't use anything high gain. I don't use distortion.
No.
Medium overdrive at most. Maybe the other overdrive a little bit lower in terms of gain.
Yeah.
To hit it with, so typically a fuzz, 2 overdrives. I weave in and out of compression use.
Yeah.
But I think for today, I'd like to put a compressor on the board. And I usually have that after overdrives.
Okay.
And fuzz. Sometimes I used to do it first thing in the chain.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I do it right after fuzz.
Yeah.
But after tweaking a lot and hanging out with the gig rig guys, they all suggested, and they said, it's all personal preference, but they liked it after overdrives.
Yeah.
So
would you stack the compressor and the drives, or would you only use that with clean?
Oh yeah, definitely use it with the overdrives.
Yeah.
Sometimes the compressor stays on like the whole gig or the whole session or whatever it is, depending on the amp. It always varies. Some people use it as a boost. I use it just like it just kind of blooms everything when it needs it. I'm not, when I play slide, I don't need necessarily compression to.
It's not to get sustain.
Not necessarily.
No.
It's a feel thing.
Yeah.
To make it feel good. It's an effect, and it's an effect for me that makes everything feel better. So, if we're going through a twin, really high wattage, or, if we're going through a Vox, which is an amp I'm not as comfortable with using, I don't really use them.
No.
Sometimes using a compressor really helps just make it feel better for me. So compressor. And then, honestly, I keep things really simple for the most part. After that, maybe we'll throw in something extra for fun, modulation effect. But in order, I would go delay then.
Yeah.
I'd go delay, trem, and then reverb last.
Yeah.
Because I want the reverb to just be affecting everything as is.
Yeah.
And I usually like to use amp reverb, which we have going.
Yeah.
But I like having a reverb pedal, just in case you
end up with an amp.
You end up with an amp that doesn't have it. And then if you do have amp reverb, you can use it as a special kind. And in this case, we did the tone print pillow talk.
Yeah.
And I use that a lot as an extra, as its own effect.
Yeah.
And it works great for that kind of luscious ambient kind of thing. So it's just, it's nice to have reverb separate from the amp as well.
It's interesting you placed the tremolo after the delay. I think a lot of people would associate tremolo in that kind of modulation block that would go before. But if you think of old amps,
exactly,
the tremolo block would actually, the tremolo effect would be in the amp, so it would come after any sort of delay or whatever you.
That's just it. And what I'm doing essentially, my favorite tremolo pedal, there's a lot of good ones out there. But my favorite pedal is this Victoria Reverberato head. Yeah. It's like a tank. I call it Frank the Tank. And it's like the size of a plexi. Like it's literally the size of this thing. I know it's not a plexi, but the size of a Marshall head. And it's harmonic trem and reverb. Oh, cool. And I put that at the end of my chain. So amp into that thing. Yeah. And then the pedal board. And exactly, it's having trem and reverb last. Yeah. And it just, everything is covered in trem. When I want to use trem, I want it to move air as much as it can. And I find when it's closer to the front of your chain, it doesn't move everything the way you want it to. So, and same with reverb. Yeah.
And basically you're cutting a hole in everything then. If you have tremolo and then you have delay, then the delay won't get the differences in the volume.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's where my head's at. Yeah. And that would be I think that would be my list of pedals. Maybe.
Would you put a tuner on there or a headstock
tuner?
Yeah,
a tuner, right.
It might be that, I've seen more and more guys actually just switch over to headstock tuners.
I do use the clip-on tuners because they're just so accurate and amazing. But like a nice poly tune is what I use. It's like, how can you go wrong with a tuner that's takes up next to no space? Yeah. I would put a tuner on the board. And I'd actually probably put that first. Yeah. First thing. Maybe a bonus pedal, like a rotary effect. Yeah. I don't get crazier than that for what I need day to day. Yeah. I'd say that's what we'd put on.
Cool, so let's start.
Working man's board.
Yeah. I think we'll start throwing some stuff on here. Okay. And then you'll get to play and dial in a little bit and pick between some different options.
Sounds great.
Okay, yeah. So through the magic of...
Hey, how did this get here?
Yeah. All this stuff.
What?
So we basically just spent a little time populating the board as you would set it up, both in terms of what effects and also, the order and the actual placement on the board as well.
Indeed, yeah.
Any kind of thought into the placement specifically? By having, drives here and tuner there and so on.
Specifically, it was just because, I could see myself stepping on, there's a few factors. They're not factors, but there are a few things to think about. The board is a good size. It's not terribly big. No. So if you're standing, you're going to reach everything really easily. Yeah. You're going to hit drives pretty regularly, but you want to have the Hall of Fame and the flashback and the pipeline kind of as close in proximity as you can. So that was just the reasoning of having the front of the chain this way, and then kind of the front line being the modulation and delay type stuff.
We basically just picked some drives and a fuzz for you to try out, and then we can always swap them out if there's something you want to hear instead of it.
Yeah.
But I guess we might as well start someplace, which would be in this case, the tuner. We don't really have to talk about.
Actually, let's hit the tuner.
Okay, let's do it.
Because I should probably tune up. Not bad for 3 flights.
No.
Okay.
Okay, so fuzz would be the first thing.
Yep. And the rusty fuzz
It's sort of a silicon fuzz face type one. So it's pretty fuzzy, a little bit sputtery, and a little bit dark with some scooped mid-range.
I actually prefer silicon fuzz.
Yeah?
That is kind of my jam. Not that a germanium fuzz isn't at all. That I love that just as much. But I tend to gravitate towards silicon type fuzzes. I don't know why. It's just the way they react and the way they feel. I really like it. I have not tried this, so I'm curious to try it.
See how you like it. And how do you typically use it? Do you use it like full blast, like Jimi Hendrix style, or a little bit more?
No, I'll use it a bit more on the, neutral side, and then hit it with something else. Yeah, that's how I like to.
And you don't do you ever use it by itself, or do you usually have an overdrive or something afterwards?
Well, I just usually have an overdrive something on all the time.
Okay,
that's kind of how I.
Yeah.
So I was thinking either the El Macumba, which we'll get to, or the two-pilot could be on this.
So maybe we should even talk about those two, and then we can try it out. Because I find exactly the same thing. I actually find that fuzz face fuzzes, I don't really like the sound of them by themselves.
Yeah.
They need to have some kind of drive after them to kind of just smooth out the sound somehow.
Agreed. Let's do that.
Yeah, let's try that. Okay, so the El Macumba is a tube scooper type circuit. Green pedal we all know and love.
Yeah, I think I know that one. Yeah.
And the two-pilot is actually a real tube pedal. It might look like an old Chandler type thing, but it is actually a different kind of circuit, but it has sort of some of the same qualities.
Cool.
It's less gainy. It's more of an overdrive than it's a distortion, which you could...
Perfect.
Yeah,
I was thinking having a tube screamer type pedal first, and then a lighter kind of overdrive. Yeah. So maybe we even dial this in a way that's not as aggressive. Yeah. And then we can hit it
with the other stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead and try something out.
So here's just the clean sound. Cleanish.
Yeah.
Okay, El Macumba. I like that a lot. I haven't even touched. I haven't really touched anything. It was. That's a good sign usually.
Cool. Sounds good.
I like that a lot. Let's hear the tube pilot. Yeah, immediately a totally different vibe. Another thing I really like to do is, once you find your overdrive, is really like I use the volume knob the most. So like, you can get pretty clean, and when you need it to, I like that. I actually didn't do that with the El Macumba. Noisy little pot there. So I mean, together they're pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's more than enough gain I would ever need.
Yeah.
And you can get quite a bit out of that. I mean,
so you would both use one or the other, or you would stack them from time to time?
Yeah, I think exactly. Yeah. Use one or the other, stack them from time to time. Yeah. I mean, having the El Macumbo on and really kind of turning this down just as a clean. Oops. You do need to have it on. Almost like I know it's not a treble booster, but just a little bit of extra sparkle, not necessarily gain.
Yeah.
Just curious, may as well. Oh, sorry.
Get the...
Yeah, that's really nice. I'm really enjoying that.
Cool.
So maybe let's hit the fuzz with it. How would you suggest setting it if we got the El Macumbo on?
Oh God, I come from the Hendrix school of just doing this, so I'm not the right person to ask. But you know, whenever I use fuzz faces, I typically just crank the fuzz all the way up and set the. Or actually, what I'll typically do, but that's more on the germanium ones, I'll crank both all the way up, and then I'll turn, it starts crackling, and then I'll turn it down, both of them down, volume and fuzz down to where it stops crackling, and that's usually like a pretty good sweet spot. But that's more the world is coming to an end kind of sound than anything.
Of course. Of course.
But yeah, you know, try it out and see what you like.
Okay. Okay, we'll turn it on here.
Yeah.
That's pretty gnarly. I like that. That's working for me.
I'm like, I never said it like that before. I have to try that out. That's really cool.
But keep in mind, I mean,
yeah, without
it, you know. Actually, it's still pretty gnarly.
Pretty good, yeah. But adding that just kind of brings everything together. I think, a little bit.
And I know it seems a little weird with the tone so far back. Yeah. It's a little darker, yeah. But I just like it.
Yeah, but you could also say with the Tube Screamer style circuit, you do lose some low end going into that. So it actually becomes a little brighter once you hit that.
Totally.
In conjunction with it.
Totally. That's working for me. I'm really digging all that.
Cool.
So just assuming, I think we've kind of decided that the El Macumbo is our leave-on overdrive.
So that's typically what you'd use.
That's typically what I do. Yeah.
You play mainly. Fender style, blackface style amps, or
I mean, I like Two Rock. I use Two Rock, Benson, Victory, and Fender stuff. That is all specific blackface sounding.
Yeah. variations on that theme, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just more dynamic feeling to me.
Yeah.
I find something like a Vox isn't as dynamic.
No.
For me. Maybe I'm wrong.
But hey, it's a classic. Tube screamer and a blackface style amp and a Strat.
Yeah, seems to work for a lot of people.
There's been a few people who like that sort of thing.
Yeah, it seems that way, yeah. Okay.
Oh, so just, before because one of the things I find, talking to a lot of guitar players who are maybe not at a place where they know what they want to hear in their head already and they know how to dial it in.
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking if you could kind of go through the thought and listening process of kind of dialing these guys in, specifically, I think the drives. The Fuzz is such a specific beast that, we can talk about that, or we already did a little bit.
Yeah.
But in terms of how you dial in the drives to get the sound that you want.
Yeah, it's honestly a never-ending journey. I still feel like I'm constantly trying. What I thought I want was like the sound I was chasing in my head is constantly evolving or changing, But I'm always just kind of hearing whatever your clean sound is, I just want more, but not that much more.
Yeah.
And that's why I use the volume knob so much, is that, you can still get clean-ish.
Yeah.
And when I'm full open, it should just be singy enough. I just want to sound like a singer or vocalist, So enough of that sustain and dynamic range. It's hard to explain. It's hard to explain.
Do you have like a process when dialing in it, or is it more just like,
Well, here's another thing, is that it sounds different wherever I plug in. This room sounds good, but I might dial this in slightly differently on stage.
Yeah.
Or in another room.
Yeah.
That's more dead sounding or more live sounding. Yeah. If your power is different somewhere else. I actually find some pedals like on 220 sound different than they do on 110.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's weird. Like, there's all these little variables I find. But most of the time, it's this not too abrasive.
Yeah.
I tend to dial things in a little dark sometimes, and I'm trying to be brighter with my EQ. But it's just what I like, and I like warm.
Yeah.
I like being able to hear the characteristic of the guitar, like the woodiness of.
Yeah.
And a lot has to do with the guitar too, of course.
Yeah.
So just an overdrive that doesn't sound too effect-like and more like an amp or something like that. That's what I'm going for.
And having the two drives with the lowest gain one at the end of it, is that something you typically do? Is that how you set them up?
Yeah.
So in this case, you would have this one on pretty much all the time?
Yeah.
And just roll the volume knob for clean stuff?
Yeah. And there'd be times, like on a bigger board, I might even suggest doing like 2 overdrives. Yeah. So like 2 different colors to choose between. And then have like the lower drive more like a boost, maybe a clon style type thing. Because I find sometimes certain overdrives, El Macambo might really like the Strat, maybe not as much on a Les Paul, or vice versa on other pedals. So if I had more pedals, I'd say, that's my Strat overdrive, or that's my 335 overdrive, stuff like that, humbucker drive.
So thinking about this, it's almost like, the first drive in your chain is almost like a second preamp.
Yeah.
That you kind of, and you can switch, if you had more, you'd have different styles of preamp. And then you have an extra one to kind of add more grit and a little bit of, I don't know, sustain. And
But this is all imperative that the amp I'm playing has enough headroom. Yeah. So like if I'm topping out early, just with the amp alone, like if it's a really low wattage amp or something like that, everything starts sounding differently. The way I use it. Amp needs to have headroom, and it's better if it's loud. Yeah. And cooking, and then sometimes something that's not seriously too high gain, or not even, it doesn't have to be that overdriven. It really comes alive. Yeah. If the amp is really rocking. Yeah. In my experience.
Yeah, but as you say, if the amp doesn't have the headroom, then you start distorting the amp as well, and that would kind of throw off.
It just fizzes out, tops out, and my playing changes. When that happens to me, I struggle. Yeah. I just start stepping on everything to get more volume, and it starts not sounding good. You know.
So that pretty much answers, I think, the drive part. The fuzz is, that's a different kind of beast, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you use that more as an effect that you will step on from time to time, or is it more song specific? Or
it's song specific, but it's typically when I'm soloing, it's a bit more sustainy to me and singy, like I said, and just bigger.
Yeah.
And I just like how it sounds. It makes me feel, again, like I was saying with the compressor, which we haven't got to yet, it just feels good.
Yeah.
It just feels good to kick a fuzz on. And again, the way I have it set, it kind of sounds like an overdrive.
Yeah.
It's not that crazy in any way. I'm not like reinventing any wheels here, but it's just an extra kick that helps, inspires me.
Yeah. And it has a certain, I think the way you set it up, it has a certain kind of grit to it.
Yeah.
It makes me think of like, obviously with the slide playing as well, but, old blues style things where it sounds like the amp is almost slightly broken or something in a good way.
Yeah, I like that. I like the old broken amp sound.
Moving on.
Compressor. My history with compressors in the last couple of years is that I would be using it and specifically, like with the Cali one, Cali 76, I'd run it at 9 volts.
Yeah.
And I had it at the front of my chain, and it just made everything feel better. It was almost like if I had to play quiet, I could still get it to feel good. If I was a little loud, it felt good. It didn't feel too spiky or anything. And then I redid a board, bigger board, G2, gig rig, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And used G2 power supplies, and they suggested that I should run it at 18 volts.
Yeah.
And it kind of changed everything. Obviously, it's a lot cleaner, a lot more headroom, but it also became a lot more noisier, and it became not as much the same effect. And then I started running it here after the effects, after the overdrives.
Yeah.
So it became more of a specialized effect. So like in the studio, it became really useful for solos or specific lead parts or stuff. It wouldn't be as much of a leave it on all the time anymore.
Okay.
Unless I need to kick like really, if I really need to make it through a mix of somehow, it really just kind of sits sonically in a mix a lot better with it.
I have one at home, and I never tried it at 18 volt yet. I haven't got around to that. I should try that out.
It is pretty wicked. Like you kick it at 18 volts, and it's like, oh. Yeah, that's probably what it's supposed to sound like. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it's all personal taste, right?
Yeah,
so I got used to the 9 volt. Maybe I'll go back to it down the road.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah.
We'll see. It's all good.
Yeah. So in any case, we have a compressor here. And as I said beforehand, these are actually not the pedals you would typically put on your board, the specific pedals. This is more about the style of
the style, But everything's sounding great, though.
We'll throw a picture of your real board, so to speak, on here, so people can actually see how I can't remember how it looks. I remember I saw the video you did with Dan of setting everything up. But, but we'll get an idea of the choices of pedal that you actually have.
Absolutely. Let's hear this thing.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear it. So obviously the Macumbo is still on.
Yeah.
Let's turn it off. Let's just go. It's really nice. That's on the vintage setting. Oh, that was tone.
So the vintage setting is done more to simulate like your classic kind of Dynacomp style compressors, where they squash fairly hard, and they also tend to have a little bit of a high-end roll-off. On the top setting, it's more of a studio-style compressor, very clean and pristine, and it doesn't kind of color the sound. So they should be able to tell the difference between the two, and I actually can't remember what's on the tone print setting right now. I don't know.
We'll just skip that for now. Yeah, immediately the Spectra is a lot cleaner.
Yeah.
Really nice, though. Cool. Let's hit this on. That's really nice. So obviously we have it pretty.
That's cool.
That feels really good. It's kind of given me that thing I was talking about with live.
Yeah.
You know, where it just balances it out in a way that feels good, and sonically speaking, it just makes it cut a bit better.
Yeah.
A bit more clarity to it.
Yeah.
Especially when I turn down the volume on the guitar. Like, I know it's noisy, but halfway is like. Without it. Just more meat.
Yeah.
More like that squash that you get from compression that I really like.
But it's not overly squashed. It's not.
No.
You're not into like country territory.
No.
Like,
but it could do that if that's what you're wanting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
But you wouldn't use it like that.
Nah. I mean, immediately if I play a telly with a compression pedal on, it's like immediately I just ooh yeah, that's what I have to do.
Dig in real hard and make it go.
Can't help it.
Yeah.
But in this case, that's how I would use it. Pretty flat. I like keeping everything around 12 o'clock on a compressor. And on the Cali or any other compressor I've ever tried, I do the same thing.
Yeah.
I kind of keep everything leveled. Cool. Okay, so I know we talked about a bonus pedal, and I figured we had the space.
Yeah.
So why not?
Yeah.
And I sometimes use like a Leslie style pedal. Sometimes dabble in chorus, not that often, but I figured why the hell not?
Yeah.
We should put it on.
Try something fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so this one is designed to sound like, there's a lot of different Leslie style pedals out there, and most of them are designed to sound like the bigger full range Leslies with the horn and the woofer.
Yeah.
This one is designed to sound like the Fender Vibra clone, which was famously used by Stevie Ray Vaughan, I guess, on Cold Shot and stuff like. So it's this thinner sort of sound. You don't get that kind of big swirly, Deep Purple kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
let's hear it. How would you usually set this guy?
I would probably set the speed. I'll try it around 12 o'clock, and then you can try this thing. And then you can do the faster one.
It's fun. So, I mean, you're playing like a... kind of like the jazzy style. That's where I like to use a Leslie style pedal.
Yeah.
That's fun. I'm sure that would do the typical chorus sounds just as well too.
It's, the two settings that are on here are basically the ones that would be on like a real, that's what they're called on a Fender Vibra clone. It's chorale and tremolo. And the tremolo is basically a fast setting.
Yeah.
And the chorale one is like a slower chorus style thing. And the way we designed it is that because on the actual unit, there isn't any controls.
Right.
It is what it is.
It should be bare like that.
And when you hit it hard, it's going to distort a little bit. So you can add that, or you can back it down if you want more of a clean sound.
Actually, we should actually hear it without the as well. So.
You can do the fast one.
I love it. That's cool.
Both knobs at 12 o'clock would basically be the speed that you, and roughly the input impedance that you'd get if you bought a real one.
Yeah.
And plugged it in, and then you can. We made it so you can adjust it. But this would be the slow speed on the real thing.
Right.
And then the fast speed on the.
Very cool. That's fun. Yeah. It's an extra piece of ammo in your arsenal.
It's the kind of thing you step on once during a gig, and then you probably
You've run out of tricks. I haven't used this one yet. I love it. Okay.
So delay.
Delay, yeah. So I mean, this guy needs no introduction. I have one of these. I really do like it. What I just found out today, which you've informed me, is that you can run. If you're just running it in mono, you can put any kind of tap tempo device.
Yeah.
Which maybe everyone knows that, and I'm the only one that didn't know that. But that's super useful because I typically use like a long delay and a slap.
Yeah.
And I like to switch between them, but I also really like to have the option to tap out.
Yeah.
The delay as
tempo,
well. Yeah.
So if you have the gig rig, I think there's a tap tempo thing on there, isn't there? As far as I remember.
There's a no.
Or does he have is there a separate kind of foot switch you can hook up to it?
There's something separate you can put to it.
Yeah.
And lots of people, I'm sure, make those kind of things that you can add to it.
Yeah.
But regardless, I whenever I've used this guy, I usually just have it at I say goodbye to slap, or I just choose I'm going to commit to slap.
Yeah. There's a little trick, and actually the reason I found out because for the band I play in, I need two different delays. And I'm using not the big G2 gig rig thing. I'm using one of the little Quartermasters.
Yeah.
And I basically the way I use it is that I only use 3 foot switches on it, and I have a bunch of pedals in each loop. So I switch between them almost like it's different presets. So one loop might have a delay, a reverb, and a compressor. The other one might have a distortion and something else. Yeah. And I didn't have room for 2 delays on there, but I needed 2 different delays. But the thing is, this is a stereo delay.
Yeah.
So because it's a stereo dual delay, it can run 2 completely different delays at the same time. So what I actually did was that in one loop, I went in from this mono in and the mono out, and I set one delay type for this, and I set another delay type, basically a slapback style thing for this one. So when I switch, there's actually 2 different delays in
That's
one.
the move right there. How about that? That's really interesting.
At least for people who have, limited space in terms of how much.
Yeah. And I guess you need a switcher of some kind.
Yeah, you need a switcher to do it. Otherwise, you'll get slapback and the other thing at the same time. It doesn't really make sense.
That's your thing. Yeah, that's cool. I do love this thing. I usually use the tape.
We could actually, if we wanted to, we could squeeze things together a little bit, and we could find room for a mini delay, so you can have the slapback if you wanted that.
Should we do it? I'm assuming everyone's saying yes.
Let's do it.
All right.
We're back.
We're back.
By magic, another pedal appeared.
Look at that.
Yeah, so as you said, 2 different delays.
Yeah.
A longer one and a slapback.
Yeah, and then I know that you have to run everything on your own, so you got to make sure you turn one off. But it just might be cool to have both at the same time as well.
Yeah.
And the more the merrier. Yeah. I mean, why not? So, yeah, we got our long delay. Ish. And then we haven't actually set it up yet.
No. Yeah, delay time, feedback, and level. So.
Oops, I can't even see right here.
No, that's the feedback. That's level, and that's delay time.
Yeah, so you know. The more the merrier, I say.
Yeah.
The more the merrier. I like that. But I mean, we don't always have the luxury of running 2 delay pedals, but
it fits, so why not?
It fits, yeah. That's the rule. If it fits on the board, it's on.
It can be there.
Yeah.
So, question about the long one first.
Yeah.
You said it on the tape one. Is that typically what you go for, or?
I typically.
Typically.
I'm gonna go. See you later. Let myself out. That's normally what I go for.
Yeah.
I'm not a big like modulation delay guy.
No.
In a session or in the studio, if you need to get more creative and try some different stuff out, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll use whatever it's calling for. But for my own sound, I do like a tape or just like the analog kind of like where. Oh, I like that. Again, as we're learning here, I like everything warm.
Yeah.
You know, maybe splitting the difference a bit. That's where I think that. Yeah, that's really nice to me.
So,
I like that.
In terms of amount of repeats and stuff like that, how many would you typically have?
I'd kind of have it even less, probably. Maybe at the most, something like that. Because in the moment, it'll be used like maybe even. Yeah, enough that it's elongating the note, but not enough that it's kind of overpowering what you're playing in real time. Maybe even a touch less, I'd go. Probably like that. And then for slap, I like it to just feel like as it's supposed to feel, like slapping, like immediately what you're playing. Maybe even. Most of the time, something like that. I could even do a bit more delay for the slap, or sorry, more feedback.
Yeah, so you get almost like a spring kind of effect, or something like that. Yeah, so it's not just one repeat. There's actually a few of them happening.
Yeah, like
really
2 or
fast.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Cool.
Cool.
So that's delays, and then we have tremolo. And you mentioned using this. I can't remember the name of it.
It's a Victoria Reverberato.
So it's the Victoria amp company that makes it? Ah, okay.
Yeah. And you know, like if you're a fan of Blake Mills, so like he uses like the Reverba.
Yeah, I saw like a big old
Reverberamo. So it's a little gun shell case. It's the same thing, but just a smaller enclosure. And And yeah, it's just a pedal in a head. You know, I like that, but I also like regular trem. It doesn't have to be harmonic tremolo.
It's a nice effect though. It's something we're actually, to be honest, missing in our trem. Maybe we'll come around to adding it someday. It's a cool effect.
Let me know when you do. Bottom line, I like trem to move air.
Yeah.
And I find that it does that well near the end of the chain.
Yeah.
Because even if I turn the fuzz on, it's really moving things along with that.
Yeah.
Instead of getting lost.
Yeah.
It's just sounding like it just sounds right to me there.
Yeah. But I mean that's the sound we're used to from amps, because tremolo used to come in amps.
Exactly.
And that's placed at the very end of the chain, right before the reverb. So
exactly. And that's kind of my theme. Like I kind of like overdrives that sound like an amp.
Yeah.
I like trem that sounds like an amp. Verb that sounds like an amp. Well, verb I'm a bit more open to.
Yeah. But you're typically playing amps with
verb.
some kind of spring reverb in there.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And even on like the trails, it's
yeah, you can hear that.
It's affecting everything.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Nice.
Trem.
Yeah.
It is what, and I like simple tremolo. Like I don't think I'd ever use it that fast. I'm honestly more of that kind of guy. Sorry, a little mic malfunction.
Yeah.
I really like it simply. I'm the kind of guy that uses it kind of. Pretty simply, just to move air, just to give you some more depth. That's how I like it.
That sounds cool.
That sounds great.
So last up, we have the
one and only.
Yeah.
Big fan of the Hall of Fame too.
We should load your tone print in there just so we can.
Cool.
We made it.
We made it. Yeah. So we got the Pillow Talk.
Yeah, we got the Pillow Talk in there.
Which was supposed to be really subtle.
Yeah.
It's easier with your foot.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. So, I mean, obviously the Hall of Fame works great just as a reverb if your amp doesn't have it.
Yeah.
But when my amp has reverb, which 99.9% of the time does, it's nice to have reverb as its own effect.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you could just get really ambient with this and delay, you know. Yeah,
Nice.
I like that a lot. It just you know.
So when you use it when you have more of a spring reverb sound on the amp, and you wanted to use a second delay for more of that ambient thing, would you turn off the spring reverb, or would you just kind of make a big wash of the whole?
Make a big wash, yeah.
Nice.
Just add to it.
Yeah.
I need reverb always. If it's dry, you know, if something calls for it, you know, if you're doing like a track that's super staccato or like a funky thing, it's nice for it to just be dry.
Yeah.
But for what I do, I need the air. I love the air and the space, so I just add to it.
Yeah, that, you know, 0.1% of the amps you play that don't have reverb on it.
It's a very small percentage.
Would you then, whatever reverb pedal you were using, would you then put that on a spring setting typically, or would that be to get that amp style reverb, or would it be something else?
Yeah, it'd be just a spring, just something subtle.
Yeah.
I actually really like the spring and the church on the Hall of Fame too. So if I switch it, you know, I would just do something like this. Actually, I'll just go to spring. And I just...
And now I
know we have the other, but really subtle, but enough for it to feel. Again, it's all about how it feels. Feels like there's reverb. Yeah. Beautiful.
So when you play a song, say with, you know, your own trio or with the Landers Brothers, would you, you know, you said before you typically have one overdrive on. Do you tend in, you know, playing the songs to do a lot of tap dancing, or is it more like you step on stuff and then you add a little bit of something from time to time?
It's funny because it varies. Sometimes when I'm fronting a band, like if I'm singing, I'm so much more concentrated on that that sometimes I forget, and I might go a song or two without adjusting anything. Hence why having one overdrive on is like always a safe thing for me. I find I'll be tap dancing the most with delays, on or off. I'm not much of a preset guy. It's funny because I use the G2 not nearly to its full potential.
Do you use it more for stepping on the pedals rather than having?
Yeah, I like it more as a stomp box thing. And you know, I use a little bit of MIDI so I can get a couple different sounds from one pedal. But I'm not much of a preset guy. I like doing everything manually on the fly. So I don't mind the tap dance.
No.
It does make it easier having it contained, I mean.
Yeah.
But I generally, like, I'm not a guy that's, I better, you know, Compressor has to be on in this verse 2 of this song.
Oh, okay, it's not like that's exactly
really
what I meant.
No,
like, you know,
not at all.
Time for the verse, step in the chorus, turn off the vibrato, turn on the...
I basically have a vibe or a sound for the song I'm playing, and solo, kick on the slap back or the long delay. Breakdown, put the trem on. Yeah. Might have delay on the whole song. You know, it's or the reverb thing. Yeah. That's more so what it's like. Yeah. Cool. And it's so much of it spur of the moment. Certain songs, and especially of mine, have parts where it calls for a sound, but it could easily be played without it. Okay, so it's all in the moment for me. It's
not like the Edge in U2 where it's like if you're missing that, you know, thing, it's like
the song falls apart. Yeah. Kind of the opposite.
So that was one thing. The other thing I was thinking of, you know, to me it seems like you can kind of divide the board and your whole thinking about it into two parts. There's kind of there's like a core, there's certain pedals that kind of is part of your core sound. Yeah. That obviously has to do with the sound, but as much to do with how you feel about playing. Yeah. So, you know, it's not like you immediately notice there's an overdrive on or a compressor on. It's not like an immense effect kind of thing.
Correct,
You know, the audience might not even notice that you put on a compressor.
Oh, God, they won't. But it's all for me, mostly. Yeah. Like you're saying, like the main overdrive, compressor, the fuzz, and like a slap delay are the things that probably don't come across to the listener as much as it is to me for how it feels. Yeah. everything else, you kick it on. Kick on the Leslie.
Yeah, somebody
kick on
will
the
know
Tremolo.
something happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Those things are for me. Those things are for making myself feel comfortable when playing.
So, we don't have to do this here, but if you were to imagine even slimming this down even further, would you go like, let's say you really had to slim down, that would become what, a clip-on tuner?
Yes, it'd be a clip-on tuner, but it's so small that it would fit.
Yeah.
I'd go just fuzz, one drive. If we only had one row, let's say, I would do these 3 and delay and probably the tremolo, because I'll be playing an amp with reverb. Those would be my if I had to do a really stripped down. That's all I really
And that
need.
would be okay, or would you feel crippled and horrible?
I wouldn't feel crippled. I might feel a little like, I wish I had more. But at the end of the day, I mean, all the sounds and the effects are amazing, and I love them. They're a big part of me, but they don't define me either as a player. Like, as long as I have an amp with reverb and overdrive, I'm happy, to be honest. But I really prefer having delay. I prefer having the ability to put on a slap if I just need more of that room kind of feeling. And like a fuzz just kicks it into another tier of power for me. Whereas, I love having a reverb, but I can also kind of get some of those things from a delay as well. Yeah. The way I'm using it. Yeah. If the amp has reverb.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks so much.
Yeah, man.
That was brilliant and really insightful. And, I hope that anybody who's out there checking this out, regardless of what pedals you have, there's some good pointers on how to dial stuff in, I think. And,
absolutely. And like we should say this again, this is how I like to do things. It's not like the right way. It's not the wrong way. It's all subjective, and you got to make it work for yourself. And it's got to work for you to inspire you. And that's the most important thing.